when people talk about toxicity within the Soulsborne community, I think a lot of people, what comes to their mind first is the whole, oh, you just gotta get good, bro. You know, look at me. I beat Elden Ring with a torch and no leveling and no armor. Like, you need to get on my level. How dare you use summons? How, you know, no magic. You know, I hate that. Like, you've got to play it this way. You know, all strength. And I think that's what people tend to kind of focus on when they think of like toxicity within this fandom. And there's another side of it that I feel like doesn't get talked about enough, or at least pointed out enough, because I feel like it's just as equally cringe, and I tend to see it more on a website like Twitter than I do really anywhere else. You see it a little bit on TikTok, but really Twitter is, I feel like, the place where, you know, you've got these people who are these like pseudo-intellectuals, like, oh, I understand Elden Ring, I understand Bloodborne, Dark Souls more than you do. And that's what I'm gonna like kind of talk about here for a little bit, is this kind of side of the fandom where, you know, anyone who's played a Souls games, you know, they know that the lore for these games are so deep, so rich, that there's a lot more going on than just the surface level of, oh, I'm fighting these bosses to get to the end, which you can play those games like that. But for these people, they almost look down on people who play Souls games as essentially glorified boss rushes. Like, to them, if you're not delving deep into the lore and understanding it the way that they want to interpret it, well, then you're misunderstanding the entire point. You don't understand Souls games like they do. No, they understand it like, you know, it's not only is it a good video game, it's got to be a commentary on society. It's got to, you know, make a statement, which, to be fair, most of the Souls games from Hidetaka Miyazaki do have a level of, like, you know, maybe societal commentary, critiquing, you know, institutions, and you could, you know, politics, whatever. And you can point to multiple, you know, whether it's Dark Souls, Bloodborne is heavy with a lot of themes like that. Elden Ring is also very heavy with, you know, questioning authority, questioning, you know, the powers that be. But quite honestly, if you approach these games, in my opinion, as I think the majority of people who do approach these games do, which is, hey, these games are a challenge. Like, they're not easy games. And to reach the end and get that sense of accomplishment, and you don't look into the game any further, you never read a single item description, you never watched a single lore video, and you just kind of moved on with your day, and you're like, man, that was really cool. There was, you know, the art direction was really cool, the music was great, the bosses were really fun, I feel accomplished now that I'm at the end of this. I think that's all you need to do. And anything else you want to do beyond that, because I think that I think is number one priority from FromSoft. That is, like, they are far more concerned with a enjoyable and enjoyable, but very well made gameplay experience that for many people is enjoyable despite the frustration, is what I mean. But they are far more focused on the gameplay and providing an experience that really it's hard to find anywhere else. And they want you to have that experience above, you know, trying to tell necessarily a straightforward story, but that story is there if you want to look for it. And that's one of the things that's so great about these games, is they reward your curiosity. You're like, okay, this is really cool. Let me do some digging. Let me, you know, read some item descriptions, try to piece things together for myself, which is such an interesting way of going about telling stories, coming from Miyazaki himself, where he was reading, you know, literature in English he could only discern a few words out of, so he was piecing together these stories in his mind, and that's how he came up with this kind of like piecemeal, like, oh, you know a little bit of this information, you know a little bit about that information, you kind of like fill in the gaps in your head. And, you know, I like to say sometimes some of the best stories that we can experience are the ones that we come up in our heads, that we interpret for ourselves. Where this heads towards the more toxic side of it are the people who have come up with these, you know, fill in the blank, whatever lore the way they've interpreted Elden Ring, Bloodborne, Dark Souls, whatever, the way that they've interpreted it, well, that's the be-all end-all interpretation for that game. That if you disagree with their take on it, well, then you don't understand it quite like they do. You don't understand the true meaning of what Bloodborne is, even though there's like 50 different videos of everyone saying, well, this is what the game actually is. This is what the game actually is. It's actually about this and this and this. And how about it's whatever you take out of it? How about that? Because art can be subjective. And games that are like this, that are built around so much interpretation, why would we not want to encourage people to take out it? But for so many of these people that I see on Twitter, and I'm sure they exist on places like Reddit and stuff as well. I'm just not on Reddit really, but if you interpret it the wrong way, you take something different out of it than what they want, then well, you've missed the whole point. How dare you play these games as just boss rushes and not as a commentary on X, Y, and Z? Like I look down on you for just playing a video game and not thinking beyond it. Which, guess what? This stuff at the end of the day is entertainment. It's not real. It's fictional. It's all fictional. And I do think art can have a higher level of, commentary on different things or have something to say to the audience. And also, I do find that some of these people tend to delve so deep into like their interpretations of these things. It's like we're just coming up with stuff. Like we are pulling things almost out of thin air in terms of interpreting what have you from this piece of lore or whatever. Like, oh, this is what they actually meant. And it just I get kind of tired of it sometimes when I come across these people on Twitter specifically. They post about the lore, what their interpretations of some of that is, and that's good for them. Again, take out of it what you want. I would never want to begrudge someone of that, but I do think sometimes you can delve a little too deep, especially when you're analyzing 10-plus-year-old games. I've seen this happen in other fandoms. Star Wars is one of them. The movies from the 70s and 80s. People just digging so deep into like, oh, this is what this little, this character nodded this direction, so it actually meant this and this and that. It's like, okay, how about we just take things at the surface level? And like, it's not, sometimes things actually aren't that deep. But like, I've seen posts of people, being like, oh, you just played the game for all of this. You probably you think a character like Radon is like, he has aura and stuff. You're at, how could you've misunderstood the entire thing. It's like, well, I think Darth Vader is a really cool character. I think he has aura. I don't agree with anything that character did in the movies or anything else, but I can still like think something is really cool without, guess what, agreeing with everything that character within a fictional universe has done. And this, I think there's kind of another side of like the Souls community where it's like, oh, this sense of accomplishment. Like, these games teach you how to grow as a person, to overcome hard things, to reach the end. And I do think that is like a really big core theme of like the original Dark Souls, where it's, and don't you dare go hollow. Retain your humanity through to the very end. And I think that's transcended over into like a cross thing between that and like, say, gym culture, that kind of thing. And I think a lot of these, lore heavy fans who maybe don't relate to that side of it as much, which is perfectly fine, almost kind of look down on the like, get good. And I don't mean get good in the sense of the more toxic way, but like, overcoming hardships, and they kind of look down on that. And it's like, that's not what the games actually are about. They're actually about this and this and this. It's like, well, maybe for that person, it is about that. It is learning those skills to then take on into other facets of your life. Like, I just don't feel like you have the place to tell someone what they can and can't take out of a piece of media simply because you disagree with how they've even approached it. And I think from FromSoft, like, they again, like I said, they're I think far more focused on the player having a great experience playing the game rather than trying to tell a direct narrative. The only time they've really done that within the like Soulsborne genre is like Sekiro, which is a much more linear, straightforward story. It just is. And I really enjoyed that game. I think the story's pretty good. But beyond that, when you're looking at Dark Souls, Dark Souls 3, Dark Souls 2 even though I haven't finished that one, Bloodborne, obviously, Elden Ring, obviously, these games, they're not, you know, they're not hand-holding you. You're not getting like lengthy cutscenes or like lengthy moments of dialogue explaining, okay, this is what's happening and this is what's happening and this, you know, it's not like, you know, like maybe something like a newer God of War game where it's like you're being told a very specific narrative. Like there is an overarching narrative and there's things going on, and the more you dig into it, the more you can understand, you know, maybe what's going on. But also, again, those gaps are there for you to fill in your head, and just to tell people that they've interpreted whatever that is incorrectly, and to look down on them because they just want to play the game as a game, and not as a, you know, this like incredible work of fiction, which I would say that these games are. But you don't have to play them like that. You don't have to look at them like that if you don't want to, if that's not your thing, if that's, you know, again, you just approach it the way you want to approach it. And there's too much of this lore, again, pseudo-intellectual, like, oh, I understand this more than you do. And yeah, like, we gotta stop. We gotta chill out. You know, it's, in my opinion, again, it's just as bad as the oh, you didn't play, you know, you used magic in your build in Elden Ring, you used summons, like how could you, like you're supposed to play this game the way I say you're supposed to play it. It's the same thing, it's all the same thing. And you know what, you put the money up for the game, guess what, you should play it the way you want to play it. And that might be a crazy take, and I love these games, and I've done different builds with characters, you know, experienced them in different ways, done my lore deep dives, all of that, because I love them and I want to experience as much as I can. Someone who does one single playthrough of Elden Ring or Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, whatever, and then they never touch it again, okay, fair enough. There's countless games I've done that with. Why would I begrudge someone of that, and that they were like, yeah, that was a really fun game. I didn't really understand the story, but I thought it was really cool. There was a lot of aura in the bosses, like the music was great, the art was great, you know, everything was visually stunning. Had a great time. That was it. Like, you know, couldn't tell you the story. Fair enough. You had a great time. It sounds like you got your money's worth out of it. Who am I to begrudge you of that? But instead, we have, you know, again, these Twitter, we gotta tell people what to actually think, how they should actually approach these games, because, well, I'm on this different intellectual playing field of understanding these games that you just wouldn't get it. You wouldn't understand. You know, you're not on my level, and it's all the same, and it just irritates me every time I see it, and it's something I've been thinking about recently. Figured I'd talk about it because I think those people within the community don't get enough flack. I think, you know, again, the people who are like the whole get good type crowd, those people get a lot of flack for it, rightfully so. The lore snobs deserve just as much flack for it. I just think they're a little bit more self-contained to a website like Twitter and probably even Reddit than they are other places like TikTok, you know, Instagram. They are a little bit on YouTube as well, but usually under like lore video type stuff, or like where people are like, okay, this is what this game actually means, and then, you know, you get a whole bunch of people in the comments arguing about what something actually is, when in the reality is it's all subjective. What a concept that art can be interpreted different ways. But with all that being said, I just wanted to rant, more or less, more than anything, about that particular topic, because I've been thinking about it recently and figured I'd, you know, say something, because it's something that does kind of irk me when I see it. Souls community is by far not even the worst community I've seen or engaged with. I am a Star Wars fan who doesn't engage with that community because of that community. So I've seen far worse communities, and I will tell you the Souls community is not that. At least not usually, unless you find some really niche pockets. But that being said, yeah, just let people enjoy stuff. Let people enjoy games the way they want to enjoy them. And yeah, just leave it at that. Everyone have fun. Everyone encourage people. Help people. help people with their builds. You know, hey, I need help with this. You know, I'm lost. What do I do? That's the stuff I love. That's the stuff I love engaging with, is when people are like, hey, I'm doing this. What do I need to do? Can you help me? I'm like, yeah, this is what I've done. This is what, let me point you in the right direction. Go watch some videos here. You know, there's no shame. There is no shame in looking up guides, you know, maps, directions for any of these games, builds, all of that. Like, I've done it. That's how I got into this. For me, it was like finding these like notes from other people who've come before me, and I'm learning from them. It's all part of the experience, and I don't think someone should be ever shamed because they, again, are coming into it new and not experiencing it the way that you want them to experience it. So that's all I really had to say on this. Hope you guys have had a great day and enjoyed the video as maybe as much as you can. But if you did, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell button. I'm putting out a lot of content recently, and things have been going pretty good. Go follow on TikTok as well. Links in the bio, links in the description here, and be sure to go check that out as well. But thank you so much, guys, and I will catch you all in the next video.